We're doing a Q&A with Greg Harrelson about Infusionsoft, and I'm going to go over a few items here to start off with and show you a few things. So the price for Infusionsoft is $1,999 startup fee and a $299 monthly fee for a 5-user license. It's always $1,999 startup fee. What we did is we had several clients using Infusionsoft, and Greg being one of them, and they asked if we could integrate so the leads from Real Geeks sites could go and dump into Infusionsoft. And so I wanted to find out more about Infusionsoft, so I talked to other customers and what they were doing, and also Greg. And Greg and I are coached from the same coach for many years, Mike Ferry, and we kind of think a lot alike, and also we know the value of prospecting and contacting people. That's the most important thing. And Greg and myself both, we use technology, but we don't use technology to hide behind the technology to do the work for us. We use the technology to help us follow up and do better so we can actually contact people, because we know the value of contacting people and great follow-up. Because you can't do a lot of sales at a high volume unless you actually are following up and talking with people. If you're sitting there waiting for your technology to work for you, and all of a sudden you're just waiting for the emails to come in or the phone call, and someone say, hey, I'm ready, I've been using your website and I saw this property, can you come write up the offer for me? This doesn't work like that. Not very often. It will now and then. But if you're depending on technology to do that, you're not going to do very much business, okay? So the $19.99 startup fee is, like I said, that's what they always charge. And there's other companies that are charging that, and then to get good content or content sequences, because that's the hardest part with Infusionsoft, is creating the content and a good sequences to drip on these people, to educate them and empower them, as Greg says. There's other companies doing it, but they charge an additional $200 or $300 a month for their content. So when I talked with Greg about this, I'm like, how can I do this? If we're going to integrate it with the current customers, how can I let Real Geeks customers know about this and bring value to them? Okay, we're not looking to make money off this, Real Geeks, the company. So they have an affiliate program, and we signed up, and we can get an affiliate fee, but we're like, we don't want to make an affiliate fee off this. We want to bring value. And I know that the system will work if you have the right content. So I approached Greg and said, hey, Greg, would you be willing to share your content if you got the affiliate fee? And he thought about it long and hard, and he said, yes, I will be doing that, to help other Real Geeks customers, because Greg likes to share. But his content is worth, I think like Matt Smith said, this type of content is worth like hundreds of thousands, because Greg has been working on it, manipulating it. And as you can see on my screen here, his team production last year, they sold 1,080 transactions last year and 860 the year before. And he's currently has 650 listings and 128 pendings, his team. But Greg also mentioned to me that 300 of those 1,080 closed transactions were because of Infusionsoft and with his database management and cultivating the leads through the database management, and that helped him sell 300 additional homes this last year. Okay, so I wanted to let you know what we're trying to do and why we integrated with Infusionsoft. All right, so let me go over and show you how it works on our website. So if you go to the settings, I'm logged in as a test admin here. And as an admin, you go into settings, and then you'll see this Infusionsoft integration. You click on that. You put in you enable Infusionsoft. You put in your domain that you have with Infusionsoft, your API key, and then you put in, if you're an admin, your user ID, because if you're taking leads, you want those leads to go to you. So you put in your user ID and your action set ID that you want it to dump in. So if they're coming from Real Geeks site, Greg has created a 2-year action set and program to drip and help massage these buyers. So it would go right into that one and fire off that action set. And Greg can explain how that. and then you just hit save, and then you would go to your agents. Let's go to agent test 1 setting, or hold on one sec. And then I would log in as that agent. I'd go to settings, Infusionsoft, and then you would put in that agent's user ID and then the same action set, the buyer one. And then so what happens is we design this, and we talk with the guys over at Infusionsoft the best way to implement this, and also talked with Greg. So when if a lead comes in unassigned, it's not going to dump into Infusionsoft. But once the lead is assigned, if you're running round robin or you're manually, if they're coming in unassigned and you're manually assigning them, as soon as it's assigned, the lead is assigned to a person in your system, and if they have a user ID and an action set ID, it's going to pass it over into Infusionsoft and attach it to that agent under that agent's lead and that action set, and then that will fire off that sequence of emails. And Greg's going to explain those more. And I also wanted to let you guys know that we do not support Infusionsoft software, okay? We support our software and it passing over into Infusionsoft, but we do not support Infusionsoft. So if you sign up for Infusionsoft, their coaches and their team are going to support you, okay? Once you do sign up for Infusionsoft, the content is going to be loaded by Greg's team into your Infusionsoft, and then the coaches over at Infusionsoft will help you understand how it's going to work and set up other lead types too, because the value in this was not just the leads coming from the Real Geeks website. The value is the seller plan, the expired plan, the FSBO plan, the short sale plan, the center of influence and past clients. So you can put in all your leads into Infusionsoft, attach them to an action set, and then have this thing help work these leads. Doesn't mean you stop calling them. And if you sign up for this and you have them going into the buyer lead, that doesn't mean you stop doing our best practices and using the Real Geeks system to follow up. If you do that, you're foolish, okay? But anyway, I'm going to pass it over to Greg. And Greg, you're on.
Okay. Well, I'm going to kind of, you gave me a couple, I guess, items or questions that you thought that would be helpful that I answer. And I'll go through those, and then we'll kind of just, maybe let their questions lead the conversation from there.
Okay,
I guess the first one was, you asked me this the other day, how did I get started? And, I've been a client of Mike Ferry for, 15 years. So one of the things that I was brought up was I was brought into the business being a prospector. And the key with being a prospector is I was always taught, through my coaching that, you start every day, you go make a bunch of calls. In other words, you're generating, conversations, and it's a numbers game. If you talk to, 30 people, you're going to set one appointment. And then tomorrow get up and talk to another 30 people, set another appointment. If you did that every day, you could be, a mega producer in any market if you're setting an appointment or two a day. Well, I started thinking about that as I started to do hundreds of deals, and I said, well, what about the fact that if I get one yes out of 30, what in the world do I do? How do I monetize the 29 no's? Because typically if I was to get a no, then it wasn't no, I won't deal with you. It was no, we're not interested in doing a deal. Like, I'm looking for listings. One person said, yes, I'm thinking about selling. 29 just says, I'm just not interested in selling. So I started to think, it's like, what in the world can I do to monetize and capitalize on those 29 no's? Because I'd already put in the time, and I just wasn't getting a return. So this was probably 4 years ago, 5 years ago, where I started putting them into a database. And I used something like a MailChimp or a Results Mail, Constant Contact. And I would just send one-off newsletters once a month, and they were always very educational based. One of the things that I learned early on is you can't send salesy content via the email because it's too easy for somebody to opt out or unsubscribe. So if we're getting a lot of unsubscribes or opts-outs, every time we have somebody opt out, then the value of your database goes down. It loses real dollars. You lose real value because your audience is decreasing. So I figured out that the best way to monitor the quality of your content is to monitor the opt-outs. So as I started getting away from salesy content to more of informational-based or value-based content, then I saw that the ops-out declined dramatically. So, where I really started, though, was I was making all these calls. I was talking to all these people. I wanted to capitalize on the no's, so I started focusing on putting them in databases. Once I started getting into an understanding of the way to communicate through the databases, meaning adding value, then I started getting an increasing amount of people calling me that I had talked to the prior year. I forgot who they were. They would call me up and say, hey, I've been getting your information. It's been very helpful. We are thinking about selling now. So what happened is I started getting all these come list me calls, and if it wasn't for the fact that I had them in my database, I wouldn't have known who they were. I didn't know them by name, but then I'd rush to the database to find out who are these people. And because I had logged their information into the database, then I started to be able to kind of familiar myself with them, know what they owned, and do the research and call them back. So that continued, and I started getting some good traction of that. And then I said, I need to make this an important part of my business. So then I started changing my mindset of my prospecting where, man, I want to prospect more so I can put more people into my database and let the system itself kind of over the years produce volume for me. So I know Real Geeks were dealing with buyers, and then I've also focused on the seller side with database. It's real easy to create a database with buyers. I mean, Real Geeks will help you do that immediately. To create a database of potential sellers, or let's just say documented property owners, then you have to do some means of prospecting in order to do that. No matter what the category is, buyers or sellers, with the amount of information that's out there on the internet, the person who's going to get the deal over the long haul is going to be the person who educates and adds value to that consumer. And that's where I think a lot of people are missing it right now, is especially with buyers, what everyone's doing is they're talking to that buyer on the initial call or the initial email. Then, because the volume of buyer leads that are coming in with all the different sources that are out there, what we're forced to do is we're forced to cherry pick. So yes, 100 buyer leads comes in over a period of time, and maybe 6 or 7 of them are what we call high quality that we really want to pursue and work with. Well, what happens with the other 95, 93 of those? That's a big book of business, and we know that on the internet, buyers are searching sometimes a year to 18 months prior to actually doing a transaction. So here's a big problem. We've got volume of leads coming in over a year that we cannot communicate with one by one. We can, unless we just completely cherry pick and pick the few this month that we know is going to do something, and then we let the other ones go to the wayside. And so what I'm doing with Infusionsoft is I've gone ahead and scaled out that on average, an internet buyer is going to buy 12 months or beyond. Then I've created a 2-year or 24-month communication plan, or let's say it's a drip, but I don't really use drip because that's the old term. It's a sequence inside of Infusionsoft to continue to be in relationship with them, but do it in an automated format so it doesn't take all my time. And that's really what it all boils down to. Through Infusionsoft, we can communicate with them, we can monitor their click patterns, and so a buyer comes in from Real Geeks website. I'm looking on the Real Geeks website, and guess what? I can see how often they're engaging in searching through Real Geeks. Well, I can also see through Infusionsoft how often people are engaging and clicking through my content, my monthly emails. When I see somebody's doing a lot of searching on Real Geeks and a lot of clicking on through Infusionsoft, guess what? You've just measured them twice. Not only are they engaging in the stuff that you're giving them, sending them on a monthly basis, but they're also doing searches. To me, that would be a triple A, and through Infusionsoft, I would have an alert that would email me and say, okay, Greg, you need to call this person. And over time, you may have 1,000 people through that system. You're never going to be able to call them all, so somebody's going to have to alert you as to which ones are the good ones versus which ones are the not so good ones. So that's kind of, how I started doing it, kind of where I am right now, I am using it again. If you see on that list, I'm using it for expireds, for FSBOs, for short sales, for centers of influence, in addition to just the buyers. And the payoff is, if I was to call in a community and put a lot of people in my database, I think in 6 months I can actually do, well, I should say, in 6 months I'll start to get traction, and in 12 to 18 months I should be able to do about a 20% market share in a given community, as long as I've called them, I've obtained their email addresses, told them I was going to follow up with them, and continue to bring them information. Over time, I can dominate a community by 20% market share. So my goal is to just keep plucking off communities in my local market. Today it'll be this community, tomorrow it'll be that community, and just keep going down the list. So I'm building databases for both prospective sellers as well as the buyers. How did all this start? One time we were in a mastermind meeting, and it was one of my mastermind groups. I can't remember which one. And we were all talking about, how do we get 10 people to call us per day? How do we make 10 contacts a day without picking up the phone? Now, I'm a prospector, so I would never do that. But I like the concept, is how could I get people to call me to list their property? And the way you do it is you have to be an authority. People have to see you as the go-to person in that market. And the way that you're going to do that is not through salesy advertisement. It's going to be delivering educational content. That is going to be the key. It's the anti-sell that actually closes people down nowadays, because everyone's selling. So again, right now, I think January I took, just as an individual, not my total team, I took 40 listings in January. In February, I took 26. And all of those were incoming calls. And sometimes I know this is a small group, so I'm revealing this information. I do know that some of you are probably saying there's no way, but I just want you to know that those 60 some odd listings, if you were to talk to anyone in my office, not one of those was an outbound call. It was all an inbound call. And that's all because these people have been getting the content for years. And they're calling me up and saying, I've been getting these messages from you for 2 years now. I wasn't thinking about doing something, but I need to sell. Can you call me back? That is a very common call that I'm going to get on a daily basis. So Jeff, from that standpoint, why don't we just, unless you have questions, let's just open it up. And
yeah, okay, I have a couple questions. And one thing you did say is that I just want to point out, because I've been saying this over and over and over again, because you said dealing with the Real Geeks websites, you're dealing with buyers. There's also sellers in there. There's a certain percentage of sellers, and if you ask the right questions and follow up with these people and qualify them, you can pick up listings from these people, because a lot of people, they start, like Greg said, before they're going to sell, and a lot of these people have a property to sell, and if you don't get their listing, you're not going to help them work on the buyer side anyways, unless that listing agent really screws up. So I wanted to make that note. And Ty Leon Guerrero on here says, I believe. He's a mutual Mike Berry coach friend.
Hey,
okay,
Ty,
so I know Ty
I'm glad you're on, buddy.
So one thing was I wanted to ask that came to mind when you were saying all this. I think it's great. I wish, because right now I'm at a referral base, and I just got buyer's agents and team working my leads off my websites, and we do about 350 transactions just from the websites, and it's all referral based. But if I used to call the expireds every day, and I would do the old-fashioned mail, actual snail mail drip campaigns with trying to give them educational content. I can't imagine if I had this working the expireds and FSBOs today, how much business that I could do. Oh, it's incredible. So I almost makes me want to go and start calling expireds again.
Well, here's the key. Here's what's interesting, and this is something that me and a couple other guys were talking about 4 months ago. I said, what we're going to start seeing in the real estate industry is, we used to look at people and say, man, if they were doing 100 deals, that is a top producer. That's a stud, right?
Right.
But nowadays, it's a whole different game. you're getting young people that understand communication and understand technology that are coming into this real estate industry, and they're plucking off in their third year of business, they're plucking off 300 and 400 deals. We're going to see that the perception of what a top producer is going to triple. A 100-deal producer is, in the near future, is not going to be that impressive. It's going to be the people that are doing 400, 500, 600, and 1,000 deals that we're going to be looking at and saying, wow, that's really good. Well, how are they doing it? They're doing it because they understand how to communicate, and then they're using technology as a means of delivery. And so you're right. I mean, so with all these Real Geeks clients that are all these buyers that we're closing down, as soon as you close a buyer, close them at the closing table, they've now taken ownership, you should immediately then switch them from Infusionsoft as a buyer's lead. You should switch them to now either a past customer or switch them to a seller. So you can actually change their sequence and say they were getting the buyer sequence, but now that they're closed, now I'm going to go ahead and switch them over to past client sequence. And your past client sequence may last for 3 or 4 or 5 years, and you're just nurturing that relationship until they become an actual seller again. But you're not asking them in month 1, hey, when you sell, let me know. No. You know, it's planned out. So you just keep these people, you just keep churning the same transactions over and over, the same people.
Okay, I have another question. I'm going to go through my questions, and then we'll open it up to the other guys for questions.
Awesome.
So let's say a lead comes in, it dumps in from Real Geeks, goes into the buyer sequence, and that sequence, I believe you told me, was 2 years. Are there other triggers in there that tries to identify them as a seller, and will that then notify you like, hey, this is a seller signal or anything like that?
Yeah, I can easily do that. You know, I was very careful not to put too many triggers, which would potentially change their and I'm getting technical here, which would be auto tagging people, because I mean, you know, once your clients get into Infusionsoft, I mean, what I would prefer, and I hope this happens, is, you know, in what we're doing and what you are doing, Jeff, and what I'm offering, you know, the people that get involved, is just, this is what you've got to have to get started. Because with Infusionsoft, even some of the salespeople will tell you, people buy this Infusionsoft subscription, and I mean, they see thousands of people letting it sit dormant for 6, 7, 8 months, and either then cancel or they then get started. So people are paying for it and never really doing anything because they can't figure out how to start the content.
Yeah,
so,
and
you know,
like I said, that's the most valuable thing here, is that it's got your content, you're using it, you've tweaked it, you've proven, and they're getting it for the normal startup fee. I mean, it's a no-brainer if they're going to go down this path.
So I've got, so I can put triggers in there. I would think, though, that once this content gets into their system and they're working with their Infusionsoft coach and they start to understand the power and the way this really works, that then they can go in and start creating additional triggers based on however they see fit.
I agree. So I would agree that, you know, they get this content, they use it like it's in, and now if they think they're seeing a need or whatever, then they can be empowered to tweak it. But I wouldn't tweak it too much, because some people then, you know, if something's really working, don't tweak it too much.
Yeah, and let me add, this, I didn't build this content to sell it. The content that I'm using here, this is what I use. This is so.
Correct.
This is not. I didn't build content to see, okay, can I be one of those guys that now gets into the business of selling content? I'm doing this by default. It's taking something that I already use today and just sharing it. That's so. I wouldn't tweak it too much, you know, but you can do whatever you want to do.
Yeah, and I agree. He did not build this. He's doing that, and I approached him and said, hey, would you be willing to do this? Because I really see the value after talking with Greg for like half hour, 45 minutes, him explaining some of his sequences, like his short sell sequence. He was telling me, hey, they watch a video, and then it triggers me and say, hey, this person just watched a video. I call them up, and they said, hey, I was just thinking about calling you. I mean, it's got stuff like that built in. I got another question that's probably going to be an obvious question. How are you getting emails when you're calling expireds and FSBOs?
Well, I mean, if I call, it's how do I get emails when I call anybody? I mean, pretty much
Correct.
asking somebody's email for their email is almost common. So when I'm calling an expired or a FISBO, I said, hey, what is your email address? Let me send you some contact information, and I'm going to send you some additional information that you may find helpful. So I may say it that way, but my real script for just getting emails in general is something like this. Jeff, hey, I appreciate the conversation, and your willingness to open up in this conversation. A lot of the other owners in your community have requested that I keep them up to date as to what's going on in the community and in the local real estate market. What's your email? I want to make sure you get the same information they're getting. And
right.
So once I let them know that a lot of people are requesting this information, then there's a perception that my information has value. And then also, when I'm saying a lot of people are requesting this information, then they don't want to be left out. They don't want to be the dumb one that's not getting what everyone else seems to be getting. And they just cough up the emails. So we'll cold call. I'll have a cold calling team looking for just solds, for 3 hours a day, and they'll get dozens of emails every single day.
All right, awesome. All right, so those were my main questions. So I'm going to jump into some of these other ones. Now, one of them says, what happens to the existing leads in RG, meaning the Real Geeks site? I can answer that one. You're going to, if you want to move over your existing leads, you're going to have to export them using the export and then import them in there and then tag them on whatever sequence you want to. The way we've done it is once you enable it and it starts passing over into that action set, it's anything that gets assigned after that point. So it does not just automatically import all your leads in there. And your coaches should be able to let you know how to import those leads from an Excel. So that's one. And let me see, do they go to Infusionsoft all at once? No, one by one as they're assigned. Here, do you incorporate video at all with these campaigns? That's for you, Greg.
Yes, well, in the campaigns that you'll be getting from me, I don't have video on there because it would be me on the video. So what I've done is I've taken the videos that I normally would insert into my campaign, and I've basically taken the content out of that and created a link to a PDF, which, by the way, all sits in the Infusionsoft application. And so the key is with all of this is Infusionsoft monitors clicking. So whether somebody clicked and went to a video or whether someone clicked and went to a landing page on Infusionsoft with that same exact content, you're logging and you're scoring the click, and that's what you need. And then it's programmed to alert you in the event that they did trigger something that we feel that would demand a call. So I've stripped the videos out of it, but not stripped the content out of it. So you still have the power of the Infusionsoft tools. It's just not, we don't want me on y'all's videos. And in any place that I've done that, they could easily replace it with their own video and just use the content as a script and then create a video and then have that now in their Infusionsoft account. That's what I would do if I was them.
I was just going to suggest that. So they know that where there was a video is if it links to a PDF, correct?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, so let's see. We got another
That's how I kept from branding it. That's how I stripped the branding off of it.
All right, so here's
branding.
one. How will your content fit into my local market?
It's not market specific. So the difference in local market, quite frankly, is going to be. I'm not sitting there saying, oh, there was 10 sales today in Phoenix. That there's not going to be content like that. So instead of mentioning Myrtle Beach or mentioning Fresno, California, I will mention our local market, things like that. So I was very careful about the language. And so it meets every market. I'm not talking about oceanfront properties versus ski properties. There's no conversations like that.
Right.
It's
Okay.
more, an example on a short sale sequence would be that if you think about the conversations that people need to know about short sales, it wouldn't matter what the market was. There's certain bits of information that they need to know, and it has nothing to do with the market. For example, am I going to get a 1099? It's not going to be market specific. There's certain
Right.
rules that govern that have nothing to do with markets. That's just a hypothetical.
Okay, got it. Here's one that says, I have 2 instances of Real Geeks and 2 websites. Can one single license of Infusionsoft be used across both instances of website? I would say yeah, because you're signing up with Infusionsoft It has nothing to do with Real Geeks. I would have to check with my programmers to find out if we can have 2 sites pushing it into one. I don't see why we wouldn't be able to, but that would be a technical question for my support team. Here's another one. How can I see the content to make sure it will work for me?
Yeah, and that's a tough one. I've been working with the Infusionsoft. So, and listen to the way I'm asking this question in return. Okay, how would you know if it would work for you? So the key is here's what one of the challenges is, and I mentioned this to Trent in Infusionsoft. People are going to think that one thing's going to work and it may not, and they're going to think that one thing's not going to work and it does. And so you wouldn't be able to look at 1 email, 2 emails, 3 emails to be able to deem whether or not it's going to work. It's just there's no possible way that could actually happen. It's not a magic pill. The key with this is the reason why people fail is because of a few things. Number one, people don't build their database consistently. That's number one. Number two is they don't communicate from a position of contribution, which is going to educate and add value. And number three, they mess up the frequency. They don't have the proper frequency. If you actually build your database and you communicate from an educational adding value and you have the proper frequency inside of the communication, then that right there is probably 70% of the game. It really is. And this thing is there's not one email that's going to be the aha, this is going to be the one that's going to work for me. It's the natural progression of how this thing builds up over the next 12 months that's going to pay the return. So it's an ongoing debate with me and Trent on, these people want to see the content. Well, gosh, if I do that, then there's nothing else to offer anybody. If I do that, then we're going to have multiple people say, "Oh, I don't think that'll work," and that you'd just be missing the boat. And here's what people have to understand, Jeff. Listen, my content's free. You're not paying me for the content. You have to decide if Infusionsoft is something that you want to move into when it comes to the way that a business strategy. The fact that you're doing it through Jeff just means you get my content for free.
For free, what you would normally pay for Infusionsoft. So if you went, Greg is right. And another thing too is some people think certain things will work or don't work, because I get this all the time. Hey, I just would never sign up on a website, and if I start requiring a sign up, I'm going to get less emails. And then I've had clients that have told me that, and they've come over to us, and I said, why don't you try for a month? These guys got great rankings, and they're getting traffic to the website. And so they try it for a month. Oh my gosh, they got 10 times as many leads signing up. So they went from like 120 a month to 1,200 because they started asking for the sign up when the people clicked on the property. And then they were worried about, hey, I'm not going to, because they just would never do it personally. That's how they felt. They weren't basing it on analytics and numbers and seeing what works and what does not work. So they assumed, well, because I'm requiring people to sign up, I'm going to get less email inquiries. Those ones that say, hey, I'm interested in this property. Well, their emails didn't go up by 10 times. They went up by 12 to 14 times. And the reason why is because now they got 10 times as many people getting dripped on with new listings and price changes. And hello, they generate email. So what you think is not always the case. Anyway, so, that's my rant. for the session. I asked what is the best email to use for work or home. So what email they're asking is what email to ask for. Is it their home email or their work email? Is I believe what the question is.
Yeah, I asked for what is your best email.
Okay. So you just ask what the best email is to send them
Yeah.
information. Okay. So you can empower them and educate them.
And again, it's very critical that I'm saying, hey, a lot of people in your area have requested that I keep them up to speed as to what's happening in the market. What is the best email? I'll make sure you get the same information. That's the script.
And it works for expires and FSBOs and everything, right? You just say, hey.
Yeah, it works for everything. I mean, listen, I mean, ideally, if you're talking to an expired, you're going to get their email because, that's something that's you're going to hopefully you're going to convert quick. So, you talk to an expired today, you'll see in the sequence that there's going to be in the first 10 days, there's probably going to be 6 different emails that are going to go out. And then because you either get an expired really quick, or you don't get them for a long time. So
I agree.
The sequence for an expired is going to be very heavy in the first 10 days, and then it's going to mellow out, and then eventually put them in a general sellers database because some of those people just don't come back on the market.
Exactly. Okay. Do you manually input emails, then tag the sequence with any? Okay, and then any issues with opt-in, IP address verification, etc.
So if you're generating these leads, the way that we're doing is we're generating these a lot of databases. We're talking about sellers again, but let's say potential sellers, we're generating them, and then we're manually putting them in. What I have is I have a worksheet, okay, that every lead that we generate or every email that we generate, I have a form, and it's an Infusionsoft form, okay? And it basically, we put their name, their address, all the information we would want to manually upload into that to the software. We put that on a form, and on my form, I have all these different labels that I can tag them. Are they a potential buyer? Are they a potential seller? Are they a past client? Are they, in your market, depending on where you are, you may build certain attributes as tags like oceanfront or lake or golf course or neither. Or you might say home, condo, land. So you would create a form. I have a form that I've created that have all these different potential tags, and every time we fill out a lead, we circle as many tags as we can. So when it goes into Infusionsoft, we want to have them tagged correctly because it's someday in the future I may have a buyer through Real Geeks that comes in and they want a property on a lake. So I might go to Infusionsoft, and all databases tagged sellers, tagged lake, I want to send this email out to them. So I might create a manual email that says, hey, I'm working with a buyer who's wanting to buy a home on the lake in this particular area. We've shown them or discussed all the properties that are currently listed, and they didn't like any of them. They requested that I reach out to all the people that I know that have property like this to see if there's a possibility you thought about selling. And so instead of sending that specific email out to a whole database through Infusionsoft, I'll send that one email out to people who are only tagged houses and lake. I do that all the time.
Nice. Okay, so here's one. What is the easiest way to sign up, and do we need a referral code, or do we just tell them your name? Okay, so the easiest way to sign up is go to our docs page, and I have a section, Infusionsoft sign up and demo page. You click on that link. It'll take you to a branded one that says Real Geeks in the first paragraph, and then you fill that form out, and Trent from Infusionsoft and his team will follow up. So that's the best way to do it. If you don't do that, then you may not get Greg's content. And then also on there, we have a list of the sequences that are on there, and we will also be posting this webinar Q&A on there, so you guys can refer back to that, okay?
I want to add one thing. I told Trent this, which is the Infusionsoft guy. I believe I told him, or I might have told you, Jeff. But I thought about this afterwards. The people who are involved with Real Geeks and Infusionsoft, I'm going to also add them to a monthly newsletter that I do in addition to what goes out through Infusionsoft. And I mean, I have friends that literally take my newsletter and they copy and paste and send it to they change it a little bit, and then they send it out to their database. Okay, so I'm going to just, anyone that's involved,
they'll dump in there, and they'll go through the sequences, and the ones coming from Real Geeks will have triggers and let you know that they're getting hotter, and then you should be also using the best practices. Now, the seller leads, you're going to have to work in there daily if you're gathering seller leads and importing those emails and their name and stuff. But that's well worth it. I mean, obvious. I mean, that's just obvious. So
yeah, your daily, your once, you know, you can set content in Infusionsoft and put it on autopilot. Okay. Now, I don't recommend that you just set it and forget it. I mean, because set it and let it go, but take advantage of what Infusionsoft. Listen, there's so many ways to build out Infusionsoft. I mean, there's many more sequences that could be built out, and I have some additional sequences that probably don't apply to everybody. So that's why I didn't add them. But there's, you know, for instance, I have an adopt a buyer sequence. So if somebody buys one of my listings, okay, and you know another agent buys one of my listings, I will then have one of my one of my customer service people in my office will call and congratulate that buyer after it's closed, congratulate them for purchasing, and then let them know that, you know, we're available in case you have any questions. Since we represented the seller and got to know so much about the house, here's our information in case you would like to, you know, ask us some questions direct. And by the way, what is your email address, and we'll keep you up to date. Okay, then somebody who just bought one of my listings through another company, who, by the way, it's fair game. It's not anyone's client. Somebody's past customer, but it's no one's client. I then get that information. I put it into Infusionsoft. I have a 4-year Infusionsoft sequence for that particular category of people. I call it the Adopt a Buyer sequence. It's 4 years. I've written it out for 4 years because my goal is all of these listings that I'm selling that these other buyers are buying, my goal is to win them over and be their agent in 4 years when they think about selling. So you got, you know, the power of Infusionsoft is amazing. We all know, everyone on this phone knows that we don't have enough time in the day to call that buyer, put them in a file, and call them, you know, as many times as we need to call them in 4 years to win them over. You'll never add that portion, that strategy to your business unless you have an Infusionsoft type technology. You'll never do it. We won't do it. So it opens it up, and we can do so many more things to drum up business.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay. Do you recommend adding local information? Someone is asking.
Okay, so I'm going to, because I don't know exactly what that means, but I'm going to answer this, and then they can ask another question. Do I recommend that you go back through the content and where it says, you know, our local market, do I recommend that you say the Phoenix market, and I just pick in that town for some reason. Do I recommend that? Sure. To me, it's probably neither here nor there. I don't think it has to be done, but, you know, there are going to be some of you that are going to just want this content loaded and you're going to forget it, and there's going to be some of you that want to really learn Infusionsoft and take it to another level. For those that have that interest, I say, you know what, go through it and comb through it a little bit and, you know, add some things here. But understand that Infusionsoft has it programmed where I can pull certain fields. So this content's going to have your name on it. It's going to have your company name. It's going to have your telephone number. It's going to have your web address. All that stuff's going to be already put in there. And I know I don't know your name and I don't know your web address, but Infusionsoft, once you have your account and you have all that stuff in your account, then I've programmed it where it pulls you're considered the contact owner. So I've already programmed it to insert contact owner's name here, insert contact's phone number, owner's website. So you're going to have that stuff's going to be already programmed in.
All right, here's another one. And this is a good one. Under the licensing agreement with Greg, does it cover my agents as well as myself? Because this is Greg's content that he's licensing you to use, but you cannot go and share it. You cannot go and duplicate it and give it to anybody else. You're getting it to use for yourself as being an RG client, but you cannot go duplicate this and go share this because it's not your content. You're being licensed to use it in the Infusionsoft for just yourself and not duplicate that. So it does cover it, and if so, does Greg have some type of licensing agreement that agents can sign?
Yeah, the answer is yes. So anyone who does this, there will be a licensing agreement that just kind of spells out what you can and cannot do. It's very simple. It's not going to be drawn out. It's one of those very simple.
All right, good. Here's one. I think I heard you say that once a lead is assigned, it goes into Infusionsoft. What happens if the lead subsequently reassigned to a different agent? Okay, so that would so he's asking, once the lead goes into Infusionsoft, it's assigned to an agent, and now the agent dropped the ball, or let's say they got fired or whatever, and now you got to reassign that lead to another agent. If you reassign that lead to another agent, you need to go into Infusionsoft and reassign it. We're not talking back and forth. Their API was decent, not great for dumping the leads into there, but for the lead to talk back to our stuff, they don't have an API set, so these things can talk back and forth. It would be delayed, and it was a mess, and then we're like, we don't even want to do that. If we can't do it right, where they talk back and forth through APIs, we're not going to do it at all. So once it's dumped in there, it's dumped in there, okay? Okay, let me see. Is the cost really $200 a month? Also, almost afraid to talk to anyone at Infusionsoft. I don't know what the hell that is. The cost is actually $299 a month, and I don't know why you're afraid to talk to anyone at Infusionsoft. You can talk to them, and they are nice people over there, so I'm not sure how to approach that. This person can email me or call me directly, and I'd be more than happy to talk with them as well. If I'm assigning leads to several agents, then does every agent need to pay for Infusionsoft account at a firm level? If I'm assigning leads to several agents, then okay, so I'm not exactly sure what you're asking.
Jeff, I think remember the $299, and I'm like you, Jeff. Yeah, I'm not on the sales side of Infusionsoft, but I do understand that $299 covers 5 users. Now, I just an FYI, I have 30 users, okay, on my one account. So, most people are not going to have that, but I know you get 5 users, and so if you're needing more than 5 users for your account, then they do have where you can add on users. You'll just have to discuss that with them as to what the additional fees are.
Yeah, and who knows? It may be really negotiable, They want you to use their system. So I would say use your sales negotiating skills. You negotiate with buyers and sellers. Hopefully you can negotiate a really good deal. Please repeat top reasons again, three reasons again. That is great and hits the nail on the head. Please repeat top 3 reasons again. I'm not sure.
Maybe the 3 reasons why people are the 3 reasons people are messing it up, and maybe that's what it was. Number 1 is basically you got to add content daily, build your database daily. That's where people make a lot of mistakes. Number 2 is people where the people are making mistakes is they're too salesy in the content. So what's happening is they're turning people off based on how they're communicating with them. And remember, it's so easy to opt out. So if you're using salesy content, people are going to opt out. And this is happening to all realtors across the country. So you got to deliver content that has value. And the consumer deems education value. That's what value is. It's not giving them $50 off of a home inspection. That's not value to them. Value is education. Is you got to empower your database with knowledge. You got to empower them, and you do that by the way you communicate. And then the third one is frequency. That's where people mess it up. Is people will mess up the frequency. They'll get busy and they don't have enough time to shoot out an email to their database. So one time they shoot it out 1 week, and then it's 3 months later, and they're like, gosh, I haven't sent anything to my database. Listen, if you're not communicating with them on a consistent schedule, you lose your audience. And so those are 3 things that people are doing that are messing it up, or those are the 3 things that people are doing to excel in when it comes to managing your databases.
All right, great, thanks. All right, here's another one. I'm going to answer it. How do if you've got a team and the leads are going over and being assigned to an agent, how does that content go out branded? If you got your agents in there and it's passing to them, it's going to be branded with their information, not the main team leader. So if it's assigned to Mary Smith, the buyer's agent, and it goes over there, it will go out with their saltations, like their signature and their content information. How can I get started? You can call Trent at Infusionsoft and make sure you tell them that you're with Real Geeks. But the best thing to do is, instead of calling Trent at Infusionsoft, is go to that link on our website, and that will track, and they'll know that you are tagged with Real Geeks, and you'll get this content. Okay, Greg, are you sending out sold listings to possible buyers? I think he means, are you dripping, once somebody's closed and stuff, are you sending them sold listings, dripping on them with around their neighborhood to update them? That wouldn't be with Infusionsoft, but make it quick because we got other ones.
Yeah, I mean, no, not too much. I mean, no. I'm definitely not using just solds as a strategy in my sequences with Infusionsoft. Not, that's just not one of the strategies that I'm using.
Okay, and here's one. Is that form available to us in Infusionsoft? I think the form that you were talking about, that you put the information in?
Like my check, yeah, I can, that would be something, Jeff, that would probably be good for me to supply to you, and you could just put it on your Real Geek site.
Okay, the form? Okay, so if you can supply that to us and it's a document, I can then put it under that same
and of course, it's an example. Yeah, you would make your own form based on what tags you feel is relevant for your market.
Right,
but I could just give you an example of all the different tags that I have.
All right. Do you use emails from for sale by owners' websites? FSBOs are not answered on their phone or called back.
Be careful with spam.
Yeah, don't. You got to get their permission with their email. Otherwise, they're going to start opting out. You don't want to spam anyone. It's just ridiculous. Can you allow? How do we get the content if we are existing Infusionsoft customer? Anyone that's an existing Infusionsoft customer, you contact me directly, and I can work with as the in between you and Greg, and I'll set that up. Okay. All right. So you guys just reach out to me. Can you go over the cost of Infusionsoft? Okay, it's recorded. Thank you very much for this. We just signed up for Real Geeks, and we'll be adding Infusionsoft soon. Okay, great. When will Greg's campaigns be imported into our IS accounts? They should be in within a week. We just got this going. There was a hiccup of how the content was going to be put in, but now someone on Greg's team will be copying and importing that. So if you did sign up, it should be shortly. How many people in your database when you started Infusionsoft, and what is it right now? I mean, you can answer that. I don't think that's important about this.
Yeah, I don't know what it was when I started, but I mean, I probably have 20,000 people in there now.
All right, someone just said, please add adopt a buyer. They like that. I mean, Mike Ferry's been saying that for a year. Hey, after the transaction's closed, adopt the other person and follow up with them as if they were your own. You know.
Yeah, and I can do that. I mean, it's not, again, I'm not creating this content to sell it. I'm just, you know, this is stuff that I'm already using. So it won't be in the initial setup, but what I can do, because I have to go in and make sure I comb through 4 years of sequence to make sure that it's not, that I've stripped any branding off of it.
Right, exactly. Okay, is the owner one of a specific agent or just a broker? I guess
the contact owner. Okay, so you got an account owner. So if you're signing up for the account, then you own the account. But you can have contact owners, which let's say you have 5 users. Well, each user is going to be considered a contact owner of some names. And you can switch contact owners. So you're going to be the admin. Your users may not be in your admin panel. But, yeah, the contact owner is going to be whoever generated the lead or whoever the lead's assigned to.
Okay.
So one account could have multiple contact owners.
Right. And someone's here asking if you have 6 agents using Real Geeks, you have to have 6 instances. No, you have 1 instance, and you have 5 users within that instance. You might be able to talk the trend into allowing 6. So how long has Greg been using Infusionsoft system? A couple years, correct?
Well, over a year with Infusionsoft, and I was using like a MailChimp type of system before then, but I switched to Infusionsoft because it's intelligence.
All right. What about future updates from Greg? I don't know. I don't know what your stance on is that. I mean, you're giving them these ones. They all want the adopt a buyer. It seems like I've had several people like that, but I mean, it's up to you, but I don't know that this is an ongoing thing. They should be building and learning and adding their other sequences, correct?
Yeah, and I'm definitely not trying to create a job for myself, and just being authentic here. But I do understand that there's probably going to be some times where I come up with what I think are going to be, oh my gosh, these are great sequences. And then at that time, you're already fully engaged and running on Infusionsoft. You've already got your Real Geeks. So will there be a time where I come up with something and I say, hey, I just want to throw that out there? Could there be a small little fee for that? Yeah, possibly. But again, right now I'm kind of uploading these up. I'm hoping the Infusionsoft coach will get you really humming with the software, and then hopefully this is enough to get you running, and you can add things on your own.
Yeah, I think it's a lot myself. You got a 24-month buyer thing. I think it's a 2-year seller. I'm not sure exactly. It's a expired 6-week. Then it goes into the seller. FSBO 6-week goes into the seller. It's a short sell sequence, center of influence, and past client. And it even included Z buyer campaign and Dave Ramsey. I don't know what the hell those are, but
yeah, there's one more on here that's
real quick.
Well, ZBuyer, if you're not using ZBuyer, you need to look up that website right now and sign up. Okay, so ZBuyer would be a for sale by owner website, but there's for sale by owners on there that are just not advertising in their most traditional ways. So for any market, it's probably like $90 a month, and there's just a gold mine of leads on there. Dave Ramsey, if you could be an ELP, you should go to Dave Ramsey and sign up to be a what's ELP stand for? He endorses you as being a preferred agent in your market. You have to pay him a referral fee for any leads. But if you are an ELP with Dave Ramsey, then I've got a Dave Ramsey sequence and a ZBuyer sequence already. So you may or may not use those. There's also one that's not listed on here. It's a RentBo. So if anyone calls for rent by owners, then I've got a RentBo sequence that lasts, I think it's a year-long sequence.
All right. So We're recording this, but I'm going to repeat it again. Someone wants to know the price again. I'm going to do it one more time. It's $19.99 startup fee. It includes Greg's campaigns that we discussed and $299 monthly fee for 5-user license. Okay. And getting the videos, Infusionsoft. Let me see. Is Infusionsoft like Top Producer that you could do a mass email if you have something that you want all your contacts to get? That's a good question.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so you can do that. All right, great. All right, we're almost there. We got just a few more. So you need an Infusionsoft account for every agent. No, you don't need No, you need one account, and you get 5 users within that account, and it's $299 a month. And if you want to add additional users on top of 5, you got to negotiate that with Trent and the guys over there at Infusionsoft. Okay. Yes, add adopt a buyer. Okay. Can you elaborate a bit more on what Infusionsoft is all about and how it's different from another CRM? So that was the one I skipped. We can either end it here, or you can answer that one quickly.
I'll answer it. Here's why I'm using Infusionsoft. Okay, you know how you go to Amazon.com and you order something, or you're looking at books, and then all of a sudden something else pops up that says, here's additional books that people that looked at this book, they also looked at these books. Or if you go to Facebook and you go in and you're looking at your profile, and then all of a sudden on the right side there's a bunch of ads that, if you're into CrossFit, then there's always a CrossFit ad. See, what they're doing is they're monitoring either our click patterns, or they're monitoring something that we inputted into the computer, and then the right ad is showing up at the right time. And that's what you can do with Infusionsoft. I mean, I can, with like the FSBO sequence. The FSBO sequence, if it's going to be, I'm going to send something else about Craigslist, educating them about Craigslist. If they hit that link, then because they hit that link, then I'm automatically going to send them this. So with Infusionsoft, you can do the, if I do this, then do this. If they do this, then do this. You can't do that with other CRMs. You can track bounce rates and you can track open rates, but you really can't track what they're clicking on and then decide based on their click patterns what additional content to send them. So most CRMs are one size fits all. You got one database and you send them one message. Infusionsoft is you got one database, but the consumer is empowered based on the content, or I should say based on what they're clicking. The consumer then receives additional information, but it's information that they have indicated they want. So if somebody hits a short sale button, then I'm not going to send them information about, buying another property. I'm going to send them more information about the frequently asked questions of short sales. What triggered that one bit of content, that next email, was triggered by their clicking. That's what Infusionsoft has the power to do. That takes communication to another level. And it will be, mark my word, Infusionsoft in another 12 months will be all over the real estate industry. I bet you if you talk to those salespeople, I bet you realtors is an upward trending part of their business right now. And it's not going to stop. And for the next 12 to 18 months, everyone's going to be jumping in. So my recommendation is either decide that you don't want it or do it now, because it's first in with everything.
All right, great. Great answer. Actually, that hit it on the nail, and that's what really, where I saw the value when we had that conversation that day. I was, oh, holy smokes, it does all this? I had no idea. It's like a drip campaign on steroids that just, you can do so many things. Here's another one. Does that mean that if we tag them buyer, but they keep looking at seller features, the system would alert us to contact the contact?
To contact the contact? So yeah. What was that again? If they do what?
Okay, so if we tag them buyer, but they keep looking at seller features, the system would alert us to contact the contact.
The contact. Yeah, that's basically what Infusionsoft is all about. Is I've got triggers. We call that a trigger. If they did blank, then it triggers this action. So if they hit, do I have a property to sell, then that would trigger an email to go to the contact owner to call that contact, because that contact just triggered that particular PDF.
Right.
That's one of those tongue twisters there.
Yeah, that's awesome. So somebody put in ELP stands for Endorsed Local
Provider. There you go.
Provider.
Thank you for that.
Endorsed
Local
partner.
provider. Partner.
Okay, and then here's one more. If all leads initially assigned to my account and then I later assign the lead to one of my buyer's agents, can I leave the lead in Infusionsoft API account without creating issues? If they're okay, so here's the deal. If they're assigned to you, if you're bringing all your leads in and you're initially getting assigned to you, and you have Infusionsoft enabled, they're going to go into your account. And then if you reassign them to another agent later on, it's not going to reassign them in Infusionsoft to that agent. So the Infusionsoft would still be going out to them, and you would be getting all the triggers. So I would say bring them in as unassigned, and you work the unassigned and look at them, and then assign them out to the agents if you want to manually assign them, or run the round robin and assign them. So it's not going to deal with a reassign. Okay, I think that's all the questions. Hopefully it's been useful and helpful. We did record this. We'll post it up. And I know Greg is also going to be working on some videos for the people signing up, explaining what the campaigns do and their purpose and stuff like that. And those will be available later. So I want to thank Greg. Thank you so much for taking the time and doing this, and also making them available to the Real Geeks people. We're really excited that you did that. All right? All right. Thanks a lot, folks, and have a great day.
Take care.
Bye.